God, that's cool.
You always have that face like you're just so accomplished when you open up a beer.
Hey, when you open up a beer with a spoon, you know you've seen some things.
Oh, I was going to ask you, what have you seen recently?
I've seen some dark things.
Oh my God.
I was just saying, when back when I used to smoke, I just had a lighter, and you just had to use a lighter to open beers. Now, once you master opening a bottle of beer with a lighter, you can open a beer with anything.
It's only uphill in life from there.
Oh,
man.
yeah. That's how I knew I made it.
That's one of those skills.
I could do that.
You're like, if I knew how to like build a house, if I knew how to like, what's another impressive thing?
Electrical work,
Yeah. Like, I have all these manly things, and I can open a beer with a lighter.
What?
I am complete.
So, the beer tonight, I like it.
What's it called?
Nut Crusher Peanut Butter Porter.
Yeah. It's from Wild Ride Brew. And it's actually really cool because my mom went out of town to Portland, and we had some good friends go out of town to Portland. And both of them brought us back a bunch of beer to try.
Oh, that's so good.
I love this beer.
There's an aftertaste of peanut butter.
It's so good.
Oh, man.
Porters are so good.
Yeah. Nut crushing. I'm pretty sure that's a felony.
I think so. But after you have a whole bottle, you start to like get some pain in your nether regions. You're like, oh, crushed.
So, did a irresponsible splurge spend?
Uh-oh.
So
you don't do a lot of those.
Yeah, I don't do it often. I like to think of myself as like a traveling hobo person, someone that's like a drifter. And in my backyard, I just have a metal barrel. Literally we drilled holes in it, and I like to have fires. So this summer, I bought a cord of wood, right? Just from a local place. I'm like, hey, I want some firewood. And they're like, yeah, here's a cord. We do half a cord, a third a cord. I'm like, I'm not a bitch. I'm going to get a full cord, right? I didn't know how much it was because I'm an idiot. It was a lot of money. And I start looking it up after I place the order, and it's 128 cubic feet of wood.
You're probably thinking it's like a little bundle. You're like, yeah, just give me the whole thing.
Yeah, and at first, like I bought like an 8-foot wide like wood rack, and I'm like, this will hold whatever I bought. And then afterwards, like literally, I have a bunch of shelf space in my garage, thank God, but there's a wall of wood back there.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, it did not hold the wood he needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walk in and he's like, hey, you got to come check this out. And then, like, he showed me the little wood rack. I'm like, oh, dude, that's a lot of wood. And he's like, oh, wait. Oh, there's more.
There's like 4 times as much in the garage.
He takes me to his garage, and his whole back wall is just wood.
Yeah. So I had a really creepy dream. These are the dreams that really bother me. And it's funny because, like, when I watch this in, like, scary movies, it doesn't hit you. But if, like, you're in a dream, like, what scares you is different than what you're watching on the screen. Mm-hmm. So I had a dream that I was just sitting there mind my own business in some, like, I don't know, giant factory. And I see this person. And I just see him pull out a, what do you call those things?
Box cutter.
Yeah, box cutter. And they're like, I'm going to slit your throat. And I was like, what? Wait, what?
Was he, like, smiling when he said
yeah,
this?
dude. He was ready to murder my ass, And
like it was pure enjoyment.
So I'm running away, and I'm feeling like I'm going into these time zones where, like, I'm trying to run through it, but I'm going in slow motion. This little bastard
those are so frustrating.
Coming up behind me, and I'm looking around, and I just see my kitchen chair, and I grab that, and I just start pushing him back. I'm like, no, you little bastard. And, like, this guy, like, he is going, like, the guy's like the Flash, like the poor man version of the Flash. Like, I'm trying to run away, but he just gets up right behind me again.
Like, all the work to get away from him, and it's trivial to him.
Yeah.
He's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get you anyway.
Dude, it was intense. I woke up, and I was like, oh, Lord.
I'm going to cut you to shreds, Cleet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had I can't say that. I haven't had, like, a scary dream, but I don't sleep much anymore. I guess it happens when you're a parent or, when you're an adult, I guess. But I have to take, like, melatonin or something when I go to bed, Tylenol PM, whatever, just to kind of get me to sleep. And every time I take melatonin, I have the strangest, wildest dreams. Like, have you had melatonin, like, recently?
I take it every night.
Yeah.
I take 3 milligrams.
Yeah. So that's the dream maker, in my opinion. I have the weirdest dreams. Like, I wake up, I'm like, I don't even know how to tell anyone this.
It's like it didn't make any sense.
Still doesn't. Nothing makes sense anymore.
All right, folks. Well, we have a real treat for you tonight. So if you're sitting back, maybe dim the lights, grab your favorite drink, and let's jump into this.
Get yourself a nut crusher.
So, Yeah, that'd really be good, actually.
They're so good.
So we actually covered this Reddit thread a long, long time ago, and it's called Reddit. What is your creepiest, most unnerving story, real or not? Please creep us out. And I love this because the stories could be true, they might not be true. And we, at the end, might put in our opinion.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if memory serves me correctly, that's what we did when we first covered it, is we talked and said, what do you think? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake?
This thread is about, it's over 12 years ago, so a lot of it is from deleted usernames. Just FYI.
Right. And obviously, apologies that our release schedule's a little swampus, I guess you'd call it, just with, adulting and all this stuff and, buying all the wood in the world. And I'm finishing a basement. Just got the drywall in today. It's awesome.
All right, fun stuff. Let's jump in. This is a true story.
Oh, is that what they wrote?
Yeah. Imagine it's a fake story, but this is scary.
So I already question it. Every time someone's like, this is a true story.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't think so.
It's like, why do you need to establish legitimacy? Anyways, we'll jump in. Told to me by a man who's been working as a murder investigator for over 30 years at the time. I was told this story after asking what the creepiest case he ever has been involved in. That's a good setup, man. That's good.
I'm pulled in. I'm ready. I'm ready for some trueness to happen.
This happened in northern Scandinavia in the late 80s, in a part of the country that's mostly covered in a dense pine forest. On the highway between cities in this part of the country, you do come across the occasional villages and secluded houses, but there are stretches that seem to go on forever with only pine trees as far as you can see. Now,
sounds like a nice place to have a barrel fire.
There's always like a weird feeling when you're like driving down a road in the middle of the woods. We're from Utah, and there's a lot of just uninhabited areas. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's like an ethereal or mystical quality. Like when you're driving, especially at night, and you're just surrounded by a large expanse where like people aren't around. Yeah. It makes you really wonder what it was like being like the first couple of humans walking across the world. Everything would have been so creepy.
Just quiet.
Yeah. So back to the story. A young girl in her early 20s was taking a motor coach home after being on a trip down south, presumably visiting friends or relatives. This happened just as winter was approaching, and it was freezing outside after nightfall. This girl lived in one of these really small communities that you pass along the highway, but during this bus trip, she fell asleep and missed her stop.
Oh, God.
So that's actually happened to me.
You fell asleep on a bus and missed your stop?
No, I was coming back from a concert and I was plastered. And I got on the tracks and I fell asleep. And I woke up 2 stops past my area.
They call that tracks roulette.
And tracks was closed, man. It was late. I was on the last train, so I had to walk.
Oh, man.
It was not good. Anyways, let's go back.
That's a sketchy part of town.
Yeah, it's not good. It was like 11 o'clock at night.
You're just walking through and you hear,
right.
Shit!
I'm gonna get you.
Got a box cutter.
Giggity, giggity. All right. So she's missed her stop. Now, looking at her watch, she realizes that they'd passed it only recently, and if she were to get off, she'd be able to walk back in approximately 3 hours. Either that, or get off in the next city, where she didn't know anyone or had any place to stay. She explained all this to the bus driver, who pulled off at the next parking space and let her off. That was the last time anyone saw her. Almost 15 years later, long after a search for her had been given up, she is stumbled upon by a hiker. Her dead body was found tied to a tree, well over an hour walk from the road into the dense, almost impassable forest. The autopsy showed no signs of physical violence of any kind. Someone had just left her there, alive. That's pretty dark, man.
Well, the question is
it true?
Or false?
False.
I'm going true.
This seems true, man. It didn't seem like there was too much detail.
Yeah, there wasn't
just enough.
Yeah, there wasn't overkill. Like, they're not like, oh, this is true, and again, this is true. Like, I feel like it's true.
That'd be a bad way to go. You just get tied up and left there in the night. Oof.
Yeah. No thanks. Okay, this is from IDK, my BFF Yosarian. Wow. Okay. A young girl is left home alone with only her dog to protect her. When night approaches, she looks She locks all the doors and tries to lock all the windows, but one won't close. She decides to leave it unlocked and goes to bed. Her dog takes its customary place under her bed. It's false. I'm already going false.
Why? Because dogs don't sleep under beds?
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I don't know. In the deep of night, she awakens to a dripping sound coming from the bathroom. The girl is too scared to go check, so she reaches her hand under the bed. She feels a reassuring lick from her dog and falls back to sleep.
We've all heard this story before.
I know. I was going to say, I don't think it's the dog. She reawakens to the dripping sound, reaches her hand down to the dog where she feels the reassuring lick and falls back to sleep. Once more, she awakens to the dripping sound. She reaches her hand down and feels the lick of her dog. Now curious about the dripping sound, she gets up and slowly walks toward the bathroom, the dripping sound getting louder as she approaches. She reaches the bathroom and turns on the light. She is greeted by a horrific sight. Hanging from the shower nozzle is her dog with its throat slit open and its blood dripping into the bathtub. Something on the bathroom mirror catches her eye and she turns around. Written on the bathroom mirror in her dog's blood are the words, "Humans can lick too." This one always creeped me right the fuck out as a kid.
Yeah, it's weird how those stories spread. I remember being told that when I was like 12. I don't think it's true. I think it's false.
Yeah, it's definitely a false story. But it did scare me as a kid too. Like for some reason I read that or someone had told it to me. And it terrified me as a kid. I'm like, what kind of sick fuck is coming into my room and licking me?
Yeah.
Disgusting.
All right. This one is from Babit, 86. Years ago, my grandfather was dying of complications from Alzheimer's. My little sister gave him a white stuffed bear with a pink heart on the stomach while he was in it on his deathbed. When you squeezed the bear, it said, "I love you," in a pre-recorded voice. He would constantly squeeze the bear, and the voice made him smile. My grandpop had the bear in his bed until he passed away. Several days before he died, my mother made him promise that he would somehow let them know he had made it there safe. After he died, we placed the bear on the mantel above the fireplace. The family gathered shortly after his death to remember him. Just as we all sat down in the living room, the bear started speaking on its own. "I love you. I love you. I love you." All right, man. That's kind of creepy.
It is creepy.
You always hear stories about that, like after someone recently passes, like something weird happens, or they hang around
super thin.
Yeah, they hang around for like a little while. I've heard stories of people like seeing someone like right after they passed, and they're just like standing there, just staring out into the abyss. But like then they find out that they died.
Right.
That being said, I don't know if I think this is true. Maybe I don't know.
It could be. I don't know if I'm going. I think I'm going false with it. But like when my grandma died, like shortly after, I never like saw her, but like you would see things move. Like I feel like her house always had shit going on with it. Like you'd see things move outside the window and you'd always see shadows and stuff. Like after she died, I feel like there was a lot more activity than normal. So yeah. I don't know.
Because they built the house on ancient Indian burial grounds.
It's not far from the truth. It was on the Pony Express Trail. A lot of people died on that trail, man. Okay. This is from anthropology_nerd. Someone likes anthropology. During boarding school, this was making the rounds. Every boarding school has some odd tradition or skill students must undertake before graduation. At my school, it was knowing how to swim, and at my brother's, it was ballroom dance classes. These are pretty mild.
Yeah.
To graduate, you need to know how to swim. Anyway, this specific school had a very outdoorsy tradition, and before graduation, students were required to spend a long weekend camping alone in the woods.
What? That's cool.
It is cool, but like, what kind of school does that?
Hey, dude, I was on a scouts trip when I was like 16, and they had us like go into groups of like 4 people, and like, you need to go camp in the woods on your own.
Right. Let's see if you can survive.
Dude, and that was not a good night. It rained and everything.
It usually does. A faculty member would drop the students off after class on Thursday and pick them up after the weekend. Most students looked forward to the experience as a calm spell before graduation week, with all the family drama and stress of moving out of school began. a girl is dropped off at the location and has a wonderful time all weekend. She writes in her journal, she takes tons of pictures, she sees lots of wildlife and relishes the calm away from other people. She is very rested by the time she returns to campus. 2 weeks later, after the insanity of graduating and moving out of school, she develops her pictures from the trip. After she flips through the photos, she realizes that one whole roll of pictures were of her sleeping.
Oh, man, that's creepy.
Oh my God.
That's the
kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit.
That's the one thing in Sinister that scared me the most.
Oh my God.
Is when they're taking like video footage of them
those
sleeping.
Home videos.
Yeah. There's something that like is violating about that. And I'm just not a fan. I'm not all about that.
No. And there's been a lot of like popular stories and stuff, especially on Reddit and like creepypastas about that, like finding pictures of yourself. And it's just, I literally like that would scare the shit out of me. Like you just have a camera and you're like, what the hell? Especially if you live alone.
Yeah.
Like if in my situation, like, okay, my wife's just being cute or whatever, taking pictures of me sleeping, whatever. But like you're alone, you're like, okay.
On a more comical note, you had Nickelodeon growing up, right?
Oh yeah. Nick.
So I think this is Nickelodeon, but Rocko's Modern Life, they, during Halloween, they always had those cool Halloween like episodes for kid shows.
Like SpongeBob.
Yeah. And there was one with Rocko Modern's Life, and they were like going through these pictures at the end of the show, and it was them having fun on a camping trip, and it was all of them just having a great time. And all of a sudden, Filbert, which is the turtle in that show, goes, "Wait a minute, guys. Who took those pictures?" And then they freaked out, and that was like the show.
It's a really scary thought, man. I think you hit it on the head. It's very violating. Like when you're sleeping, you're so vulnerable.
It's so true. This one is from Fifth Ape.
Fifth Ape.
Yeah.
It's the fifth one.
It's like a fifth of ape. I've gone to a liquor store and asked for that. They just punched me. I'll give you a fifth of ape, you son of a bitch.
Nut crusher.
All right. This story is a story within a story. It was told to me by my friend Mark. During high school, Mark was over at his friend's house. We'll just call him Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Because I don't know his name. They were hanging out in Steve's room after just hanging up a poster of Limp Bizkit's Significant Other album cover. Man, that guy just did it all for the nookie.
Keep rolling.
So they're bringing up an album cover that Steve had just bought. Minutes later, Steve's dad comes by and orders him to take the poster down immediately. When he asked his dad why, he says, "Never mind.
Take
why?"
that filth down.
And just to listen to him and do it. Yeah.
He really did not like it.
Yeah. Common, parent trope.
Every high school kid goes through that. Take that down.
Well, why should I do that? Well, just fuck off and do it.
Doesn't matter. Just do it. I'm the parent.
I'm your goddamn father, motherfucker.
Man, I never got that. I just got my shit thrown away.
So Steve is pissed, but listens to his dad and takes it down. Later, Steve asks his dad why he told him to take down the poster. This is the story he told him. "When I was young, your aunt, uncles, and I had to sleep on the floor in one room because we were very poor. One night, someone walked into the room, bent over my head and asked, 'Give me your soul.' I was so afraid I pretended to be asleep. This thing would ask me to give him my soul a few times, then get up and walk out of the room. This happened every other night until I reached my early teens. One night, after he was walking away, I opened my eyes to see his face. What I saw was a
Limp Bizkit.
What I saw was a thing with the body of a human. He wore a hood. Underneath the hood was a face of a lizard. A few years before you were born, we threw a Halloween party at our house with all of our family. We ran out of candy, so I drove to the local supermarket to pick some more up. On the way there, I was listening to the radio, and they said to call in with your scariest story. I pulled over to the side of the road, called them on a payphone, and told them the story of this lizard man over the air. When I got back home, I could hear someone crying. I went upstairs into the bedroom and saw my sister crying on her bed. I asked her what was going on. She said, I heard you on the radio. That happened to me too. So that's the story.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, I think that this story isn't true.
you think?
Definitely seems creepy pasta-ish.
I was waiting for the tie-in for the
The poster. Yeah, it seems incomplete.
It's just like,
It's like, why did you have me take the poster down? Well,
when
when I was a
upon
child,
time.
Limp Bizkit came to my house with his girlfriend and asked for my soul, and I was never the same again.
Like, I literally am just trying to think of where the similarity is. Like, where's the comparison? Like,
I think they were attempting to make a scary story and just kind of lost their train of thought mid-type.
yeah, they're like, how can I make this scary? Oh, we're gonna branch off completely. Forget Limp Bizkit.
Or maybe there's like an inside like Limp Bizkit joke here that we don't understand and that we totally missed.
Yeah, like if you're listening to this and you're like, God, you guys are dumb. It's obvious. Let us know what we're missing because I don't have any freaking idea.
Your next one's huge.
Thank you. Okay, so this one comes from Agent_Kolar. Interesting. Oh, it is a beast, isn't it? Sorry for the lengthiness of this post, but I have several stories, and I couldn't decide which was the most unnerving. Some of these are from myself, and then some from my family and friends, although there are many more than this. It's one of those ones like, hey, ask me for more, and I'll post them later.
Yeah.
Number 1. When I was about 10 years old, we lived in an old rental house while the house my parents currently live in was being built. One night I couldn't sleep, so I lay awake in bed. I heard some rustling going on in the dining room, and I assumed that one of my parents was up doing something. So I rolled over on my side and looked at the wall, only to see the form of someone squatted down by my bed.
Oh.
Their head on the same level as mine. This person cocked their head when I made eye contact, although I could see no eyes, and I just stared back in disbelief. That's really fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Although there was some light coming through my windows, no light seemed to hit him. He stood out against the light reflecting off of the wall, yet I could see no discernible features, just a black mass of a human. I rolled over the other way, utterly terrified to scream for fear of what he would do. Needless to say, I never went back to sleep that night, and only in the light of the morning did I roll back over. Like, is he just staring at him all night if he didn't sleep?
I'm just going to watch you.
I got this box cutter.
Oh, my God.
Whatever it was, it had left my room without a sound. I coolly asked my parents the next morning if they'd been awake because I thought I'd heard something, and they said they both had slept through the night. That is a lie.
Yeah, maybe it's just like sleep paralysis, though.
Yeah. About 4 years after the incident, we had moved into the house that was being built. One night before bed, I was cleaning up a few things we'd left out while playing with friends in the yard. Some bikes, my sister's electric Barbie Jeep, etc.
Hey, my sister had that growing up. That's funny.
Did you and your friends play with it?
Yeah, dude, I didn't care. I was like 6.
Yeah, those things are pretty cool. I didn't have a sister, so, never got to experience that.
Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. I had gotten everything inside except for the basketball, so I went back for it. As I crossed the driveway, I threw the ball down as hard as I could to see how high I could bounce it, catch it, and then repeat.
Dude, that's a classic game.
Oh, yeah. As I approached the house, I bounced the ball one last time, and as my eyes followed it up, they stopped on something in front of me. Crouched on the gutter of my roof, about 10 feet in front of me, was the same featureless form I'd seen several years prior. This kid's got like a Wendigo following him or something.
Yeah.
The basketball soared over my head and into the bushes. He immediately stood up, turned around, and walked up the steep slope of my garage roof as if it were nothing, then disappeared down the other side. Didn't make a sound. I never saw anything like him again, and I don't care to.
He's just like, hey, good to see you again. Well, I'm out. You'll never see me again.
He's like, dude, you bounced that really high.
Good job.
I am proud of you. This story is similar to my previous. My grandma is the oldest of 7 kids, one which has since passed away from cancer. When they were young, before the youngest one or two were born, They all lived together with my great-grandparents in a house in Jeffrey, West Virginia. This house has many scary stories, and this is just one of those. Several of the kids found themselves being awakened at night by a noise on the roof. After this happening several nights in a row, they went downstairs to wake up their parents. They could never get them to wake up in time to hear the footsteps, as they would stop the second my great-grandparents awakened. Typical. Get the parents involved and everything's just fine.
It's like a typical scary movie.
So, my great-grandpa just thought the kids were being kids and told them not to bring it up again. One night after, the noise was incredibly loud, and so the kids were very scared. They ran downstairs and awakened their parents, this time who did hear the banging. So my great-grandpa got his gun out and went outside. Naturally, he found nothing on the roof. The noises stopped after this and never came back. However, the next day, a neighbor came over and said, "Just wanted to let you know that I saw something standing on your roof last night."
What the hell?
That's like Signs. It's like a good old M. Night Shyamalan twist.
It's like on Christmas and you think it's Santa and you go out and it's like some weird-ass alien.
Yeah.
And abducts you.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Every Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm like, Santa's here. No, it's just that alien.
Oh, God, not the probe.
And stuff your stocking with the probe. One of my best friend's grandpas is married to his second wife, who no one likes for various reasons. That's got to be uncomfortable. Ultimately, she's a user who takes advantage of her husband. However, she's also quite crazy. She frequently wakes up in the middle of the night screaming with awful dreams and visions. Although she claimed to have seen odd beings and creatures during the night, he never believed her. One night she awoke from a dream, then saw something standing in the corner of the room. She calmly awoke her husband and pointed into the corner, asking, "Believe me now?" In the corner, he saw a dark-robed form with the body of a human, but the head of an animal.
What
Holy
the fuck?
hell.
That's creepy.
This is the Limp Bizkit story, man.
Yeah.
It's the head of a snake.
It's a devil. Goddamn demon devil.
An animal he has never been able to describe as anything other than utterly terrifying and otherworldly. He yelled, and it disappeared into a vapor. He has since split with his wife.
Yeah.
He's like, "It's your fault. Get out.
You gotta cut your ties if that happens.
Damn. I think they're all true. 100%.
I don't buy it. I think it's false.
All of them? False?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're all false. Good story, though. Good story. All right, this one is from Smoey.
Smoey.
This story is not as cool as some of the others, but I believe this actually happened. It takes place in the 70s. My father's friend is a forest ranger who also happens to be a competitive pistol shooter.
That's pretty cool.
That is way cool. Like, who can hit the most targets the fastest, that sort of thing.
It's the Wild West.
Or Super Wyoming.
That's
by
true.
where he lives, yeah. He was driving with his wife, playing car poker with a local car club. Basically, the group comes up with objectives, generally places to drive to, and you are awarded a card for accomplishing them. The goal, of course, is to get the best hand. All of these objectives are completed over the weekend and are done individually. That is, the drivers go their own way. This is not a caravan.
That seems pretty interesting.
That is a really interesting game. I've never heard of that. So, he and his wife are driving their convertible. I think it was a Triumph, along the back roads of a western Washington near Concrete, Washington. Come around the bend in the road, and a large pickup dragging a good-sized log comes tearing out, perpendicular to the road, so that the log is now blocking their path. Like, whoa, what the hell?
That's all the wood and it's in your garage right now.
That's probably like, I got a cord of wood I got delivered to someone named Cletus.
He literally said, "I am no bitch. Bring me the whole tree."
Oh, yeah. Putting the car in reverse and looking behind them, the husband sees another truck do the same thing, effectively boxing him and his wife in. Each pickup bed is occupied by 3 to 4 rednecks. Goddamn backwoods hillbillies. One of whom has a shotgun.
Uh-oh.
One of the rednecks, clearly the leader, jumps down from the bed and walks over to the car. It being a nice day, the windows were already down. The redneck leader leans into the car and leers at the man's wife. "That is a fine-looking woman you got there."
Oh, hell no.
The husband's pulse races. Being a competitive shooter and a forest ranger, technically a peace officer, the husband carries a pistol under the seat of his car. While the leader of the redneck bandits walked up to the car, the husband slowly reached under his seat and pulled up his revolver and concealed it under his legs.
This one's cool.
Yeah, it's a cool story, man.
Something crazy is going to happen here.
As soon as he heard the leader imply that these men were going to rape his wife, he grabbed the leader by the collar and put his pistol to his forehead. "You will have your guys move that log in front of us or I will blow your fucking head off."
Yes!
The leader was silent for a moment, the calculations running in his head. He said, "You can't get all of us." "Sure, but you'll be dead." Self-preservation ruling the day for the leader, he motioned for the front of the log to be moved. The husband drove forward slowly, keeping hold of the leader's collar until he was clear of the obstacles. He made it past and got the fuck out of there. That's crazy.
I'm going
Jesus.
true 100%.
Yeah, I think that's a true story. Oh, man.
I just imagine it being Liam Neeson. For some reason, I was just
have
picturing
a
Liam
particular
Neeson.
set of skills.
He used to work at a logging company. That was pretty cool. I liked that. I enjoyed that one. Another one from Deleted. My grandmother told me this, and I believe it just because of the way she tells this story. She was 11 years old and on vacation at her aunt's house in Turkey, Yozgat, small village called Sarikia, which means yellow field. It was early in the morning. Before she woke up, she dreamed of her aunt and how she was standing in the kitchen and staring out of the windows with a cup of coffee, like nearly every morning. In the dream, my grandmother says, "Good morning." Her aunt would turn to her, smile, and let her sit at the table where they usually have breakfast and say calmly, "Tell your mum to wake me up. Don't wake me up yourself, okay? And if you see a brown bird, follow the bird." She awoke from this odd dream and told her mum to wake up her sister. That's really weird.
Yeah.
It's like a premonition of sorts.
I need to know what's going on here.
My grandmother had to leave her aunt's house the same day. After a long day at school, she was visiting a private school at this time. The kind where they give children uniforms. After the Ataturkian Revolution, this was mandatory. She was on the way home where suddenly a chirping bird was in front of her. She tried to pass the bird, but it would just not leave my grandmother's path and soon would chirp louder. At this moment, she finally noticed that the bird had a brownly color, and she remembered what her aunt was saying in the dream. Follow the bird. The weird thing was, she said, the bird wasn't flying at all. It was just jumping away from her, and she soon followed it, till she reached the door of a police station, where an officer just opened the door and see the little girl, which was my grandmother. The officer but soon would look behind her to see a person with a black pouch accompanied with some kind of farmer truck waiting for this odd person. Needless to say, those persons had been kidnappers, which decided to flee immediately. The officer decided to bring her home that day. Eventually, she found out that her aunt died, most likely the day she left her house.
That's creepy.
Oh, so it says, English is not my first language, but I wanted to share this with you. That's crazy.
Well, do you believe it, Britton? Do you think that's a true story? A brown bird led this woman away from a dark fate?
Stranger things have happened.
Stranger danger. I'm gonna go with I don't know. I'm neither believing nor disbelieving.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
All right. The next story is from Decorator. I married my college sweetheart right after we graduated. After about a year, it wasn't going well, and it seemed like it would be the best for me to move out. My brother, who is a few years older than me, lived on the other side of town, where he has a fairly large house. He is actually planning to move to another city and staying there in rented accommodation pretty much all the time. He agreed that I can stay in the house until I get myself sorted out or until he sells a house, whichever comes first. His house is actually kind of run down. He had been planning to fix it up, but was so busy with his job that he never really got that much done. I had plenty of time on my hands at evenings and weekends, so I volunteered to do some fixing and decorating for him. Over a few months, I repainted all the rooms, fixed all the wooden floors, and even retiled both the bathrooms, put in a new toilet and a shower, etc.
I had all this free time, so I just did everything for him.
Just redid the whole house. My brother paid for all the materials. He gave me a prepaid debit card, but I did all the labor for free, of course. The last room that I was doing was the bedroom. It had a built-in wardrobe cupboard, kind of built into the wall. I decided to paint the inside of the cupboard as well as the room itself, since the cupboard was a dirty yellow inside with lots of black marks on the walls.
That's some mold.
Yeah, right. Made me feel weird. I used the last of the white paint to paint the inside and left the doors open for it to dry. That was my Friday night. Then I went to bed. The next day was a Saturday, and the last thing to do is paint the walls of the room, which include a dark red lower half and a cream upper half. There is a rail between them, and it didn't look as horrible as it sounds.
I don't think it sounds horrible.
Yeah, seems it's all right. I went to get the red paint from the corridor where I had been using it to touch up a spot that I had missed. I then went back to the corridor to get the red paint tray with the roller and brush in it. I tripped as I entered the room, and the tray and roller fell onto the floor, which fortunately was covered, but the brush went into the cupboard and hit the wall. It left a mark that looked like an elongated S with a long line going straight down underneath it. Now, I was pissed because I would have to repaint the inside of the cupboard, at least a couple of coats to cover the dark red, which means I will have to probably go out and buy more white paint as well. I picked up the brush and started to write shit using an elongated S for the initial letter. The H, however, came out looking more like A, so I write Satan instead.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, man. He's conjuring the devil.
It's Satan's box now.
Yeah. There was still a long line of paint running vertically under the S, so I made that into a vertical stroke of a K and wrote kill.
This is like the demonic version of Narnia.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
Instead of like going to Narnia, you're going straight to hell.
Kill them. I thought nothing of it, and then got on with painting the rest of the room. I spent several hours painting the entire room. By the time I was finished, it was dark and late, and I was aching and really hungry.
I would have laughed if she just started like writing random hateful shit all over the walls.
Yeah, it just keeps going. It ruins the whole house. I decided to go downstairs to get some food and then go to sleep. As I was leaving the room, Satan Kill caught my eye, and for some reason I decided to write in, orders you to, after Satan, making the message, Satan orders you to kill. It didn't seem important, as I am planning to paint over it anyway. First thing Sunday morning, I went out and bought a tub of white paint. When I got back to paint over Satan orders you to kill, but you can still read it through the white paint. I then started on the second coat on the room proper. When I finished the room, I redid white roller over Satan orders you to kill in the cupboard again, but you can still read it. For the next week, every morning before I leave for work, and when I get back working in the evening, I rollered another layer of white paint over Satan orders you to kill. I was convinced that it was still faintly visible.
That shit's never going away.
It has gone nuts, man. And then I murdered someone. The next week, my brother came over, so I showed him the cupboard and asked him if he can see any messages written inside it. He said that he couldn't, but I was still convinced that it was faintly visible.
This is like taking over this guy's life.
Right? I told myself that this was my mind playing tricks with me and that I must take his word for it. Nevertheless, just to be sure, I did a few more layers of paint over the next few days. During these times, there are periodically people who come with a realtor to look at the house. My brother was, after all, trying to sell it. I do particularly remember one family, mother, father, and teenage boy, who spent ages looking over the house on one Saturday. I think, not sure, if this is the same family that reappears later in the story. I soon moved out and moved away to another town, got a new job, rent my own place. My brother eventually sold the house. I met a new girl, etc. At Christmas, my brother invited me and my girl over to his large apartment in a major city. We went to visit. When we were talking, he tells me that he is so glad that he is rid of that house, since it always gave him the creeps. Asked me if it ever gave me the creeps. It didn't. Then the killer revelation. The family who bought the house, the teenage son killed his parents and hid their bodies in the cupboard. Jesus
shit.
Christ. That's crazy.
That was worth it. That was a slow burn that definitely paid off.
It really was.
Oh
I'm going to go false on this, but that is false. A good story.
That was entertaining.
Yeah.
So this one also comes from deleted. They're just all deleting them.
Yep.
It starts with edit. OMG, this is so long. I'm so sorry. Here is a contribution from my life. From 1990 to 1997, I lived with my family in Naperville, Illinois, in a typical subdevelopment in a typical house that was built in the 70s. I was a teenager, class of 96. Go Skins! Anyway, this house had what I jokingly referred to as a ghost parrot. That is, it mimicked sounds.
Arrah, kill Satan orders.
Just flew from every house.
All right.
I dropped a bunch of colored pencils on the tile floor on the kitchen one day. My brother and I were upstairs the following day when the exact same sound, as if it had been recorded, came from the bathroom in between our rooms. We looked inside, nothing on the floor. Ha! Nice one, we said. The joking always made us feel better.
That's hilarious. Nice one.
They're like, well, sometimes you have to just, joke about it to make it not as scary.
Yeah.
Our tomcat loved to play at night, and then he tore up and down the stairs just about every night chasing who knows what. The distinct sound of a cat claws on carpet was our lullaby. My dad hated it. Someone stop that fucking cat. We don't have money to be replacing carpet all the time. It's a typical dad thing.
Yeah, it is.
Well, one night the crazy cat is playing, Dad shouts, and my brother steps out of his room to put a stop to it. After a moment, he opens my door while I'm in bed reading. He asks me if I'd been listening to the cat tearing up and down the steps. Of course, he says. Us too. It's just that... What? I ask. I get up and follow him to his room. In his closet, the cat is curled up in his clothes hamper, fast asleep. I didn't know he was in here. I just opened my closet door just now. We slowly turn to the stairs. Silence. Clearly, I grabbed my pillow and bunked it on his floor that night. This sort of thing continued until we were almost desensitized to it.
That's really interesting.
Things changed when we were getting ready to move out. My brother had moved to St. Louis, my parents had split up, and my father had moved out. I think it's all because of the cat.
No, it's just weird mimicry. Ruined their marriage.
Oh, yeah. They just walk away. It's, me, me, me. Like, what the fuck did you just say?
Why do I keep hearing a ghost cat? You're ruining our marriage.
The echoes of your affair just keep echoing through this house. It was just me and my mom taking care of the house and keeping it pretty for the realtors. I was out of the house most of the day and evening, at school and hanging out with friends and whatnot. One day, Mom said, it's not happy about all the changes, acting out, having a tantrum, I expect. Who's not happy? I asked. The house. And let me tell you, the dog isn't happy either. She was referring to her Jack Russell Terrier who was, and is, her constant companion. I didn't inquire into the details. That's ominous. One weekend, Dad came over and we did an emergency search, box and organize in the basement. One wall had sprung a leak and ruined some documents, so we went about moving everything over to the other wall. It took us all weekend and was back-breaking work. We had collected a lot of shit over the years. I think it's everyone's basement. Monday afternoon, it rained again. I returned home at the same time as my mom. It turns out that the dog had finally flipped out and was running to the basement door, screaming, and running back to her arms, shaking like a leaf. Finally, she had put the dog in the car and went to McDonald's. That's how you calm a dog down.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything of it. Self-absorbed 17-year-old, remember? Dad returned on Tuesday to pick up some things. We heard, God damn it! And every other curse word coming from the basement stairs as he stormed up. Why did you move everything back to the other wall? The boxes are all wet now. He screamed at Mom. I went down and this is what I saw. Every box had indeed been moved to the other side of the basement and set on its side. That is, the boxes weren't lit up, but stacked haphazardly against the wall with lids facing out. To this day, my father honestly believes, or chooses to believe, that my mom with the muscular condition undid in one day what took us two, just to irritate him. Conclusion. We were showing the house, and the basement door had to be kept closed. The cat's litter box was down there, so it had been open for the last 6 years. I was watching TV, and Mom was outside brushing the dog, when someone started insistently knocking on a door. Well, it wasn't the front or back doors, because they were made of metal. It was a wooden door. I ran to the kitchen and looked dumbfounded. Mom mouthed, "Well, answer it," from the other side of the glass doors. "I'm trying," I mouthed back, and then it hit me. As soon as I realized where the knocking was coming from, it stopped. I walked over to the basement door and opened it. We left it open from then on, unless there was a scheduled showing. We sold the house and never looked back.
I don't believe it, but it's a good story. Good story.
These are pretty decent.
Yeah. This one is from Pufflecun. I didn't write this, but it's one of my favorite stories. An elderly man was sitting alone on a dark path. He wasn't certain of which direction to go, and he had forgotten both where he was traveling to and who he was. He sat down for a moment to rest his weary legs, and suddenly looked up to see an elderly woman before him. She grinned toothlessly, and with a cackle spoke. "Now, your third wish. What will it be?" Third wish? The man was baffled. How can it be a third wish if I hadn't had a first or a second wish? "You've had 2 wishes already," the hag said. But your second wish was for me to return everything to the way it was before you had made your first wish. That's why you remember nothing, because everything is the way it was before you made any wishes," she cackled at the poor man. "So it is you that have 1 wish left, all right?" "All right," he said. "I don't believe this, but there's no harm in wishing. I wish to know who I am." "Funny," said the old woman as she granted his wish and disappeared forever. "That was your first wish." Well, I'm going to go with that's false. I mean, that's a very false story, Pufflecun. And
What makes you say it's false?
You
don't believe in wishes?
It's clearly a really
Believe
stupid.
in magic.
No, not that magic. God damn it. All right, guys. Well, this wraps up our Reddit episode of the night. Let us know if you disagree with our truth or lies, or if you thought a story was especially true in the comments section.
And, of course, if you have a topic or suggestion that you'd like us to cover, we always ask that you send those to entertheabysspod@gmail.com.
Right now, for YouTube, we're at 142 subscribers. So if you've enjoyed what you listened to tonight and you feel like we've earned it, please subscribe, as it's a step closer to our monetization. And as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.